Hello. Welcome to our continuing devotional through the book of Colossians. Today we're at Colossians chapter 3, looking at verses 3 and 4, where it says this: For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. And when Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. Now, in the previous two verses, which we covered in previous devotionals, we saw that we must now base our beliefs and our behaviors and our choices all on heavenly standards. And the reason for this is emphasized again and again, and he emphasizes it again here. He says, listen, you are not who you once were. You are a new person with a new relationship and a new power, with a new future and a new destiny. You have died is how he starts here in verse 3. Normally, that's not a statement you want to hear. You have died. But when he says you have died, he means to your old life, to your old standing with God, to the old sinful nature that used to control you, to your old destiny, which was eternal judgment. You have, that part of you is gone. It's gone forever. In the same way that a single person, when they become married, they have died to that single life and they now have a new life with a new relationship and new priorities. Well, you have died to that old life, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. And so he's reminding them that you are not who you used to be. And he does that because we all have a tendency, even when we know are in a new condition, we have a tendency to fall back into our old way of thinking and living. Let me give you an illustration. I was in the Army for 3 years, benefited from that time there. But when I was out of the Army and I got home, it was very difficult for me to make the adjustment. I continually found myself going back and living according to my previous circumstances, my previous condition of being enlisted instead of my new condition of being a civilian. I would make sure I kept my hair cut the same as when I was a soldier. I would walk the same as when I was a soldier. I would press my clothes. Each day I'd get up, I'd iron my clothes because when I was a soldier, that's what I had to do. I'd make my bed. Now, I understand these are not necessarily bad things, but just understand the illustration is I didn't have to do what I used to do because now I was in a new condition. I was no longer a soldier. I was a civilian. But my days of being a soldier had influenced me so that I tended to fall back into those same patterns of behavior. In that case, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But when it comes to our old life and our old way of thinking when we were not Christians, it is a bad thing. We don't want to fall back into that, but it tends to influence us, and we have to be reminded, you have died to that. You're no longer in that condition. Your life is now hidden with Christ in God. You have been set free. And then he says in verse 4, when Christ, who is your life, appears, you will also appear with him in glory. And what he's saying here is, you may feel the same, you may look the same, but you're not the same. Right now, when you become a Christian, there's no glow, there's no halo, there's nothing obvious in your physical outward appearance that says you are different, you are new. That will happen, as he says there in verse 4, when Christ appears. Then you will appear with him, and all that glory, all that greatness, all the evidence that you are a child of God will be presented. You will have a new body, new resurrected body. The Bible talks about that in the book of Romans, which is another devotion altogether. The whole point here is, don't let the fact that you still have the same appearance and the same feelings fool you or deceive you. You are in a new condition. You are now a child of God with a new destiny and a new power and a new freedom. If the Son sets you free, you shall be free indeed. You are free from that old life, and therefore you need to live accordingly. That's the main focus, to look ahead to that day when Jesus appears and you are with him and I am with him and we are revealed to be his true children. But until that day comes, we need to choose and remember that we have died to our old self and we've left that old life behind. Now we're living according to a new value system altogether. Hope you'll consider these things. Have a blessed day.